for a while it was a daily basis, then it sort of spaced out to a week where people are like, when is this coming? There's an insane amount of shit that was simultaneously going on behind the scenes, which we can get into later for the stuff that I can talk about.
I don't know if you guys remember this. When we first started our podcast, one of our followers...
Oh, yeah.
I just got to relive it, though, because it's forever seared into my brain and etched into my heart.
If your sound is just really copying another band's sound, who's going to choose to listen to you over the band that has made that sound famous, right?
Someone's going to hear this and they're like, oh, now Synestia is sold out.
I don't want to say I invented the technique, and I was like, holy fuck, this cannot come from a human.
Whose dick do you have to suck to get those sounds? What would be like the likelihood of you and Disembodied Tyrant just like doing this going forward?
So, best of both worlds.
This is my little intro. A Synestia is a hypothesized, rapidly spinning donut-shaped mass of vaporized rock. The term was coined in 2017 by Sarah T. Stewart, taken from Hestia, goddess of the hearth, combined with Syn, S-Y-N, meaning together. And we've all come together today to vaporize my donut-shaped mass. Thank
like
you guys for being here.
Sounds like a pocket pussy for a Titan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Intergalactic pocket pussy. Synestia.
That's good. That's good. Synestia lore.
Welcome. Yeah, welcome, guys, dude. It's so awesome to finally see you in person, talk to you. I know we've had some back and forth in the past, dude. We've been huge fans. I feel lucky that we caught wind of you guys much earlier than when the Poetic Edda came out. I feel pretty fortunate about that. I don't know if you guys remember this. When we first started our podcast, one of our followers said something to effect. I just got to relive it, though, because it's forever seared into my brain and etched into my heart.
Mine too.
Stop what you're fucking doing and go check out Synestia. Okay? I put the fucking link up. If someone doesn't go suck the singer's dick, I'm going to.
If someone doesn't suck the lead singer's dick, I will.
I'm going to hold him up for that promise sometime.
Yeah, we went from there. We listened to some tracks from Maleficium, the album that I think you released just right around that time, which still holds up. I think it's great. Go check out Synestia's older shit. It holds up to me.
Not too old, though. That first EP is a little rough, but
I get it.
Just testing the waters.
Yeah.
So we have Sam and Ville from Synestia here today joining us. How are you guys doing, man? Outside the music, how is your lives going?
Yeah, great,
Good.
man.
Great.
Yeah.
Finally
Awesome.
springtime, so
Yeah, but that also fucks me up thanks to allergies, so
yeah. Okay, true. Me too.
this morning was a bit of a rough patch.
I get it, dude. I don't know what fucking trees you got up there in Finland, dude, that make it so you can't
Those things
breathe.
will fuck you up, man.
Down here in Texas, it can get pretty fucking rough, dude. And then we get these weird fucking winds from Africa, so we get malaria spice that fucking makes it hard to breathe and shit too.
Spice.
Yeah, we get that dude malaria
Doing
spice,
reference.
Yeah.
So Sam, you're in Minnesota, right?
Yep.
And then Ville, you're in Finland.
Yeah.
So how did you guys even come together? How did you link up?
So COVID was going on. It was 2021, I think, or 2020 maybe when we first connected. But I started writing music again after not really touching my instrument for 5 or 6 years between college and shortly after college. And then so I was getting back into things and wanted to write some music and have vocals on it. And I had no idea where to start. I have no connections to anything in the local scene here. Didn't know anybody, didn't even know what I was doing myself either. And so I think I didn't even know where to look. So I started on Reddit, and Villa posted a screaming video, just demoing his different tones. and I reached out to him, and like everything just like sort of clicked in place throughout, and here we are. So
yeah, that's crazy that you brought up Reddit, dude, because actually Vila, I'm part of the Screaming subreddit.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen your videos on there as well, dude. Yeah. So you've been doing like vocal covers and shit for a minute, it seems like.
Yeah, I've done them for almost as long as I've done vocals, I'd say.
You just lately started uploading it, huh?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, was thinking like I need some like outside, what's called?
Like feedback.
Perspective.
Yeah, feedback. Yeah, feedback. Yeah. So that's a good place.
Yeah.
It is. But have you ever been to if you follow through that subreddit, have you ever been to the Discord?
No.
Oh, that place is fucking unhinged, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty foul.
Yeah, dude, it's so bad. It's like the dude who like started it up and ran it. It's like, and I don't know like Discord etiquette as well as Reddit. They're like two totally different entities entirely in how people navigate and interact. But they're like, yeah, just, you know, if you need advice, go to the Discord. And then you go to the Discord and you start asking questions. They're like, no, dickhead, you have to ask in this channel. And you're not asking the right questions. Look at the fucking pinned, you know, shit. And then there was even a moment where like one of the mods of the Screaming Discord, she was like a trans girl or whatever. And she was like also like teaching people her techniques. And there was some kind of fallout between her and the main dude who started the whole thing, and she tried to like stage a coup and like mutiny against him. It devolved into like the most degenerate shit slinging I've ever seen, dude. It was fucking insane.
Was it Reddit or Discord that had the bot that got pissed off when you mentioned Phil Ansamo?
That's the metal memes subreddit. That's just a shit post. Yeah. But yeah, it's anytime you say Pantera, an auto like response will just tack on real quick and say Clantera's a Nazi band. Like every time you mention Pantera.
You can't even mention it. Yeah.
Fucking hilarious. Yeah, so anyways, the meat and potatoes of what we're discussing, clearly we're gonna talk in length, hopefully, about the Poetic Edda. But before we get into that, I kind of want to really take a moment to get to know you guys as just people outside of music. Yeah. It's kind of my mantra at this point for this podcast. Something that always fascinates me is kind of the different walks of life people go through, and then how that translates into them being an artist. I kind of look at it as like a crucible that you pour yourself into. And then I like to see how that, you know, takes form in your music. So this is a question for each of you individually, but kind of walk us through like the stepping stones of how you got into music, how you got into metal, all your influences they can be metal or otherwise. And how did you get into becoming an artist and getting into music?
Who wants to go first?
Go first. I can do that. Yeah. Well, I started listening to metal pretty late, I'd say, at like 14 years old or something.
How old are you guys?
I'm 25.
I'm 28.
I remember going to school one day and somehow I stumbled upon Infant Annihilator. No clue how.
Yeah, that's a way to jump off for sure.
Yeah,
dude.
A gateway band.
Yeah.
So yeah, I listened to them and I was like, holy fuck, this cannot come from a human.
But my heart just ain't gonna buy.
Like these
was that the
cannot...
Dan Watson era or Dickie Allen era?
It was the era when the Egg album had just came out, and I was like amazed by all the wacky sounds.
You guys ain't slam.
That kind of influenced me a bit, at least in the starting point. But I wouldn't like call myself a vocalist really in like 4 years or so.
I mean, I would, but
I wouldn't.
I have a running joke with people who do like, it's like the vocal circle jerk that you see nowadays, but it's like, I always make the joke when you hear like Will Ramos or Dickie Allen, it's like, whose dick do you have to suck to get those sounds?
Whose dick do I gotta suck to get some around here?
Right, but
it kind of like spiraled pretty heavily from there, like starting from Infinite Annihilator. So yeah, jumping straight to the like deep end. But I'd say like, yeah, Shadow of Intent obviously has been like huge influence on my vocals, and Whitechapel also. I'd say like Whitechapel, Black Tongue, and yeah, Shadow of Intent have been like the biggest bands for me to influence my vocals overall.
Nice. Was there anything like kind of any outliers outside of metal that kind of helped form your musical tastes and your style?
Not really, no. Like I only listen to metal or drum and bass and electronic stuff. So
okay, I can see how that might translate into some of your songs, like just rhythm and tempo more so, keeping a groove. How about you, Sam?
My path to heavy music, I feel like, is a lot more similar to what most people experience, where it's a slow increase. You know, you start on like classic rock with your parents and Metallica and stuff like that. I played guitar at a really young age. And so I got exposure to all different kinds of guitar music. I've taken a fair amount of classical guitar lessons. I did some jazz stuff when I was in high school. And then I guess at that point I had been listening to a lot of like, you know, Avenged Sevenfold was the first real like heavy-ish band that I started listening to. And that was in middle school. And then a lot of metalcore in high school all the way through college. And it wasn't until like 2019 that I started listening to like deathcore stuff. Shadow of Intent had just put out Melancholy, and it showed up on my Spotify under like recent metal releases, and I listened to it, and it was just like scratch an itch in my brain that I hadn't had scratched before, you know?
yeah, just fucking mind blown, dude.
Yeah, and so that sort of, at that point, I wasn't really even playing guitar that much. Just with other life stuff going on, trying to get established in a career and all that garbage. And then eventually started getting back into guitar playing, and, you know, the decision was really difficult to figure out. I knew I wanted to create music, but I had no idea what sort of genre of music, of heavy music I wanted to create. I was listening to a lot of like Periphery at that time too. But I love like soundtrack music, classical music and stuff like that, and I think the ability to combine those two into the same genre is what helped me make the decision to do this like symphonic deathcore blend stuff. So
that's a really interesting point, dude, because metal, as extreme as it is, can really bring in and fuse together really well with a lot of different subgenres.
So many.
And make it interesting in a way that, you know, like pop and rap isn't that interesting, but when you incorporate it in like a deathcore song, which we're seeing more and more, it becomes interesting. Classical even more so. But I feel like classical and metal have more in common than not.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And even like, you know, rock, blues, jazz can all mesh super well with metal.
Oh yeah.
I actually never really thought about that till you just said that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that there was a band, because I mean, obviously we're a little older, so but it's weird how like Spotify now and just technologies like that influence us, things like those inspirations that lead you to pick up a guitar or pick it up again.
Yep.
All that stuff. I feel like for, you know, my generation, that was the same with Slipknot, because before that, it was like the hardest thing out there to me was like Linkin Park or something like that. And then I remember Slipknot was around for like, I saw people with t-shirts, but they were never on the radio. They were never on TV. I just remember thinking like, that's some underground band that nobody knows about. They wear these crazy masks. And I remember hearing, what was it? The that song. I can't remember the name of the song, but the "fuck it all, fuck this world, fuck everything that you stand for."
I think.
Yeah, Surfacing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
The first time I heard Surfacing, my life changed. Like I could never go back to the same thing. So I think that's kind of an equal thing, like as you mentioned.
I feel like Slipknot's been like the main gateway band for like most artists these days.
Yeah. Well, they had the intrigue, dude. There was really something special. I mean, every band of that era kind of had a gimmick that they leaned on, even if it was like something as simple as fucking Korn. They all had dreads and, you know, dressed like rappers of the 90s, wore fucking Janko jeans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Slipknot really stood out in a way that a lot of bands just didn't. And that kind of dives into like what I like to, I'm always fascinated by like that rock star story, you know, and that kind of leans into like the question I had asked you guys earlier, like what led you to this point. Now that reflects into your music, but there's this intrigue of mystery surrounding Slipknot. You're like, who are these people? Like, why is there 3 fucking drummers? Why is there a dude dressed as Pinocchio jerking off?
I'm not a puppet. I'm a real boy.
I don't get it, but it's like it's fucking insane, dude. But
what does he do? He hits a keg and jerks his nose off. That's what he does.
He's real pivotal.
And they paid that guy to go on tour.
Rivers and Nile can't even support to have their saxophone player. No, actually, I went to Chaos and Carnage. They did have the sax player this time.
Nice.
I'm so jealous of the shows you guys have in the US.
Yeah.
We get nothing here. Like we had Lorna play twice last year, which was the highlight of that year. So there's not too many bands visiting here.
Yeah. With the exception of the new fucking what's that one that everybody's fucking dragging right now? The Summer Slaughter Tour. Veil of Maya. What the fuck is this? But Chaos and Carnage is gonna be one of the best lineups in history right now.
Yeah.
Cattle Decap was incredible. That was like mind blowing. If you ever get a chance to see Cattle Decapitation, it's
that's a dream.
The best thing you can do with your life.
Did Humanity's Last Breath also play there?
Yes. Yeah. It was
so sick.
Yeah.
It was Face Yourself, Vitriol, the Zenith Passage, incredible. Humanity's Last Breath, Rivers of Nile, Carnifex, and Cattle Decapitation. Like, fuck yeah. Insane, dude. Just
last time I saw them in Helsinki, I chipped my tooth in the pit. Probably the best like live experience I've had. They're so sick live.
Which band?
Humanity's Last Breath. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you probably get a better chance to see them than we do. That was their first time in America touring, to my understanding. Sick. Yeah, so cool. That was dope, dude. That album's incredible, dude. Ashen's fucking insane.
Yeah, their whole like discography is amazing.
Yeah, it really is when you go back. How did you guys link up with Disembodied Tyrant, and how did you kind of conceptualize this whole project? Where did it all kind of start?
That started from me. Blake is Disembodied Tyrant right now, right? He does.
Yeah. Was there another member? Now it's just Blake?
There was. Yeah. Renee did drums, and it was very similar to our situation where Blake lives around St. Louis, and then Renee is in
Distant now, right?
Yeah, and he's in Distant, but he was in Europe as well. And Blake has some pretty big plans moving forward, and had some stuff going on this fall that he was going to plan on flying Renee here for, but then Renee got offered the Distant gig and then basically just joined us full-time for Distant. And so,
which you can't really blame him for, man.
No.
I mean, not at all.
Yeah.
Renee's a cool guy, dude. We've talked to him. We like his style. We had an attempt to do drums for one of our tracks that we were doing. And
nice.
And he was like, do y'all got the fucking click for this or what? Like, nah.
I was like, what's a click?
Yeah.
What's a time signature? Never even heard of that.
He did his best. Actually, the final product came out pretty good, all things considered. But even we were like, yeah, maybe this song just ain't it, dude. Yeah. No, No, I like Rennie. He's a cool dude. Yeah. So, anyways, you're linking up with Disembodied Tyrant. Sorry.
So the two of those guys followed the Synestia's band Instagram account and my account, and I reached out to Renee first and just told him that I was super stoked on their EP that they put out in October, Divine Stigmata, and ended up talking about potentially collaborating in the future. I got hooked in with Blake. We started talking about things and realized we have a very similar mindset with a lot of this, and we're doing a lot of the same things in terms of, you know, writing music by ourselves. And we started talking about what a collaboration might look like, if that was just like we're featuring on each other's tracks or something. And then we sort of came to the idea of an EP split. The initial idea was for us each to do 2 of our own songs and then do 1 song in collaboration. So it would have been a 5-song EP. We started, I had some Synestia stuff written already, but we started with the collab song, which was the title track of the EP, Poetic Edda.
And you started with that song.
We started with that song.
Jesus.
And so Blake had the first minute and 30 seconds or so written already, and he was like, what would you think about building off of this? And we just took it and ran with it, and we got about 3 to 3.5 minutes in, and we were like, this is going really well. It's a really unique sound because we both definitely have our own styles and our own things that we excel at, and they're both sort of coming to the surface, whereas the things that maybe we aren't as good at, we pick the other person's part, right? So
yeah.
From there, I was like, it seems stupid to not try and, you know, see what we can get out of this thing, right? And so we ended up getting sort of stuck at a spot in Poetic Edda at about 3 minutes, and then we started writing. Devour was the second one, and Devour ended up being finished first, and so then we went to release that one. But at that point, we had decided to just do a full 4-track EP in complete collaboration.
Yeah, it worked out fucking incredible, dude. Like so much well. No, I mean, you guys really mesh together in a way it's so seamless.
Yeah.
And you guys complement each other. And like, I'll be honest, and I don't look at this as like a con, but it was like hard to differentiate like what parts are Disembodied Tyrant and what parts were Synestia, because it felt so natural to just fit it all together.
Right. Well, that's what we want, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes from the fact that even like an idea that I bring to the table, Blake is still working on, you know, maybe he works on the orchestration around it or the drums, or, you know, each part, not every part, but a lot of the parts have some of both of us in them. And so it's not like fusing my part and then going into his part and trying to make it flow nice. It's like there's sort of a lot happening together at the same time throughout.
Yeah, it's you guys layered each other as opposed to like you do this verse, I'll do this verse, switch off type thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the other thing, like for we didn't do as much of this in Death Empress and Winter, but a lot of like trying to present the same idea in different ways in Devour and Poetic Edda. And so like the intro for Devour, Blake wrote, and I think we've got 4 or 5 different presentations of that little melody throughout the song, all, you know, basically done by one of us. So it creates a really cool sort of depth to the music, I think.
So now that it's kind of out there and you guys have gotten feedback and everything, this feels like the magnum opus. How do you feel about the project now that it's all said and done and it's out there for people?
Super excited that it's out. God, I was tired of those songs at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, we started working in like December of 2022.
Long ass time.
The amount of burnout that Blake and I went through over this process is unbelievable. I think it hurt us not having all of the songs finished before we started releasing them, because it sort of put a lot of pressure on us to try and make sure that we had the same consistency of quality throughout all 4 songs.
Well, and keeping up with the hype and keeping people engaged and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I was going to say, it did seem like it's like you guys got done with a track and then you just fucking put it out there.
That's
it was like even bizarre because like I was anticipating this EP, and then you guys went silent for just like a little bit, and that's when
I would say a little bit. I would say it was like 5 months.
That's when I decided to reach out to you. I was like, hey, do you guys want to come on the podcast? You know, we haven't really heard from you. And then all of a sudden your fucking EP drops out of nowhere. I felt like there was no promotion whatsoever.
No.
I was like, they're like, just fucking get it out, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I felt so bad by the end of it. Like, we'd get comments and messages. For a while, it was a daily basis. Then it sort of spaced out to a week where people are like, when is this coming? And like, there's an insane amount of shit that was simultaneously going on behind the scenes, which we can get into later for the stuff that I can talk about. But we literally finished it and submitted for release a week later. Like, it was not done until the end of April. Just like little tweaks and retracking lines and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Well, you wanted it to be perfect, dude.
Exactly.
Especially because the hype was fucking through the roof at that point, dude. Anything less than that, like what you did with like Poetic Edda and I the Devourer, it's like it had to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I get it. Ville, I kind of posed the same question to you. Like, how do you feel about the project now that's said and done?
Relieved.
Yeah.
Even though I like obviously have not like committed as much time and effort into it as Blake and Sam, but still I feel extremely relieved and proud of the like whole thing. Like
now that it's done.
So proud of my boys.
Fuck off, Mom, I love you. Fuck off. I'm not cutting that out, by the way. Looking back on it, is there anything you would go back and change about it, or maybe have done differently through the process of writing it?
I mean, besides going back with the ideas that we ended up deciding on and putting it out sooner, no, I think we're pretty happy with the way that everything sort of came together. We literally like wrote 3 different parts of like about 1.5 to 2 minutes of song that we were calling Death Empress. We did that like 3 different times and scrapped all of it. So being able to go to that song and know what we were going to end up doing would have been really nice. Saved us a lot of frustration, but otherwise I think we're pretty happy with the final product.
That's interesting. You said Death Empress, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite song on the whole thing.
It is.
It's
really good, dude. It's so good, dude.
That last minute of like all the fade-ins with it sounds like a female voice. Coming in and out. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, that breakdown's fucking insane, dude. In fact, I know you guys did an AMA on the deathcore subreddit, but then even leading up to that, your EP got out there. I had seen a couple threads, discussing the Poetic Edda. And I remember seeing some like comments of people, saying like, I guess they thought like the breakdowns were like the weakest part. And I was just like,
you're fucking high.
Are these guys high on fucking bath salts, dude? I was like, the breakdowns are fucking incredible, dude, especially on Death Empress, dude. That transition, the way it fades in with the female voice and then heavy as fuck and then it goes again. It's just incredible, dude.
That was a Blake thing. Blake handled a lot of pretty much all the breakdown stuff, because he's just an absolute fucking machine at that. And so we were, a lot of the time I find myself when he's got these ideas like he did for this, which is pretty out there. There's not a lot of deathcore that's got a breakdown like that, if any. Trying to convince him to keep it every now and then, because we all question ourselves. But
of course,
I think he and I have really established a lot of trust in each other, and if I'm telling him that I want to keep something because I think it's sick, or vice versa, and he's telling me not to delete something, it helps give us some confidence in that part.
No, that's awesome. It's hard when you do something yourself. Like, man, there's so much I've deleted of my own stuff where I thought it was great when I did it, and then you take like a day off and you come back to it and you listen to it, you're like, this fucking sucks. And delete it. I don't know how many riffs I've lost to that. You know, I'd be a lot more famous probably at this point. If I didn't delete everything. Because I delete literally everything.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is real, dude. Big time. Another thing I kind of wanted to discuss, I found interesting. Obviously, you guys are heavily influenced by Shadow of Intent.
Mm-hmm.
That much is clear. Even before we talked to you, I was like, oh, yeah, I can hear it. You had Bryce Butler doing drums for you previously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was he present on this one?
On the EP, no.
Okay.
Nope. When I would write parts, you know, I'd send MIDI over to Blake, but he plays drums.
Okay.
As well. He didn't record them. The drums are programmed on the EP, but he's got a really good understanding of how the instrument functions and, you know, different ways to do things to make them creative and not sound like a guitar player who's never picked up a pair of drumsticks in his life wrote them. You know?
I agree. They sound great. Like until you just said that, I don't think I'm a guitar player, so I don't really listen to drums when I listen to music as much as most people. But I've never noticed that it was MIDI.
Yeah, that sounds so good. He's really good at adjusting the velocity of the hits so that they sound, you know, like they were played by a human. And
that's important.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's hate yourself work. Doing the drum velocities. You really got to hate yourself to spend a lot of time on that.
And then obviously you had Ben Dewar on the track. The first track, by the sound of it, did the guys from Shadow of Intent, or were there any outside forces that had like kind of any input on this EP whatsoever or feedback?
So I've worked with Chris from Shadow of Intent on our first EP and the album. He mixed and mastered both of those. He helped us get Ben featured on a track. It was the first single that we put out as a band in like 2021. And he was on that. And so there was like a working relationship there, but we wanted to get somebody featured on the EP, and Blake loves Shadow of Intent. We love Shadow of Intent. Ben's an unbelievable vocalist. And so
he's incredible.
We've got the guys, the contacts to help get in touch with him already established. And so we just decided on that. And it was a great idea. He absolutely murdered that. Part, so.
Yeah, it was like, dude, when we had reacted to I the Devourer and the Poetic Edda, there was no need to fake any of those reactions whatsoever. It was fully authentic, dude. Not that we do anyways. In fact, we'll even go as far as to say this kind of fucking sucks. Shit, but those are actually two of our best performing videos on our YouTube channel too. And God, the excitement we had listening to those tracks for the first time, dude, it was unreal. We didn't have time to react to the whole EP like I had wanted to, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna talk to him. I was like, I'm way more excited about that anyways.
It's interesting how exciting it was to me, because we've talked about this recently, how deathcore just hasn't been, you know, just extreme metal in general lately just hasn't been scratching my itch. Like it
felt
did.
Uninspired in a lot of ways.
Well, a lot of times it feels like you know, like you said, they should have called this band Edgemaster 3000, you know?
Oh, Edgelord 3000.
Yeah. He said that on a recent reaction, because it just sounds like it's trying to be extreme, you know, rather than does this fit here, asking those questions. And I mean, and this EP for me is what's bringing me back, you know, to like that deathcore sound, that symphonic sound, which was starting to get so drowned out. And I think I think as the future goes on, you know, the future of this like genre, it's so easy now compared to when I was playing 20 years ago for someone to have to do up some symphonic MIDI, the MIDI drums, shit, even MIDI guitars are starting to sound like somewhat decent now. So like there's so much out there that's just uninspired, you know, what do you call
saturated.
It? Like programmatic, you know,
for sure.
Like AI did it, you know. This is an idea of what it should sound like, rather than asking you know, what sounds good here. But I think this EP does it for me. So it definitely brings me back on it.
Well, and we have a big love for just like kind of progressive music in general. And I think that's something I don't get me wrong. I love deathcore, dude. I fucking love it, but it's become so formulaic or over the top, like extreme to be extreme. Yeah. And this really has all the heart and soul in it. It has that progressive, which I wish a lot of more bands would do. I'm not sure they can. I'm not sure it'd translate well. Not everybody can write progressive music. Yeah. According to Finn McKenty, you have to be autistic, apparently. I was going to say, have you guys like gotten any other influences too, like outside of like Shadow of Intent, like progressive wise, like maybe Between the Buried and Me, for example, which is like one of our favorite fucking bands?
I definitely have made a much better effort to pull in inspiration from other bands. I think our album was definitely like Shadow of Intent core, you know, like very heavily inspired. This stuff is feels a lot more us and original, despite what some people I think have said. We've seen comments being like, I don't understand what's everyone's freaking out about. This just sounds generic to me, you know. But I mean, I listen to a ton of Dream Theater.
Okay.
My dad loves Rush. Dream Theater is my Rush, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, trying to just like expand my horizons with musical influences and listening to as much stuff as I can. I think the one thing that I think is interesting about the last year and a half while we've been working on this is that my deathcore that I consumed has gone down a lot. I don't listen to very much of that. And I think that honestly helps create more original organic ideas.
Yeah, because you have the foundation of deathcore, right?
Yeah.
And now you're trying to draw from other sounds that can complement that. That's something I see. That's another thing that comes up on the deathcore subreddit. And I have to kind of agree is there's a lot of bands now. Because if you look at like Whitechapel, you know, Shadow of Intent, you know, they took from death metal and other influences previously. And now all the deathcore bands that are coming up, they're just taking from deathcore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like we have to draw influence from like something outside of deathcore or it's just going to get stale, dude.
Yeah. I heard this really great quote. I don't remember who said it. It was from a podcast. And something along the lines of if your sound is just really copying another band's sound, who's going to choose to listen to you over the band that has made that sound famous, right? If you just sound like shitty Killswitch Engage, why am I not going to just go listen to Killswitch Engage? You know? There's a lot of that. I think about that every time I write a song now. I'm just like, is this too close to something else that people are just going to want to listen to that instead? Yeah.
But you also have to be willing to, you know, recognize like what's authentically you that you're putting into it.
Yeah.
But like, dude, I mean, artists steal riffs from each other all the time. Sure. And like, oftentimes it's like almost like flattering. I've seen to like, they're like, oh, they used my riff, dude. How cool.
Yeah.
Billy, I was going to ask you, obviously you're a fucking monster, dude.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. What sounds are you trying to achieve vocally? And like, how do you like push yourself or to be unique from like other people doing vocals nowadays? I know that's fucking hard. So like, where's your mindset go to kind of stand apart?
I have never like tried to sound exactly like someone else. Yeah. Which I think is like the main factor in like creating my own sound. And I've mostly been self-taught. So I haven't like absorbed all the same information as all the like kids learning from YouTube tutorials and shit like that.
Dude, listen, I tried to do self-taught and I realized I was like, this ain't it, dude.
That's why it took me like vocals, for ages. Man.
Yeah.
That's why I said like it took me like 4 years to even call myself a vocalist. Like I sounded like a dying cat.
Yeah. Dude,
not in a good way.
Not in a good influence way.
Coming not through. In a good way. Yeah. I love black metal, but yeah. Not in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always find it weird when somebody tries to sound like something, because I know through my own writing that you don't have to try, you're going to sound like something. You know, you think you're making something up that's like so unique in your head. But I remember I wrote a song not that long ago. I sent it to Sunny D, and I was just like, hey, check this out. And then I listened to a Veil of Maya song that I liked years ago. I was like, oh my God, it's basically the same song. I never, like listened to that song and went, I'm going to do that. It was just like, it's what naturally happened, because everything comes from somewhere. I think all thoughts live in your head for a reason. They don't just come from nothing. So yeah, that makes sense.
The one like funny thing about learning vocals, or let's say like different techniques, because I haven't used any YouTube tutorials, so I kind of have to like make it up myself, which kind of creates like variations of the technique that I want to do, which made me like, I don't want to say I invented the technique because there has to be someone doing the same thing. Sam knows my what's it called, fucking stroke vocals. Because
it's coined now. Anybody who tries to say otherwise, dude, stroke vocals.
Yeah, and that name comes from like the facial expression I'm making while doing them.
Oh, like having a stroke?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Like where your fucking eyes are like rolling into the back of your head and shit. Like,
my mind went directly to blowjob. I was thinking stroke vocal.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get stroke vocal almost every day. Yeah.
Like that face you make, like right as you're about to bust it out.
Yeah.
What are vinegar strokes?
It's the point during the sexual experience when a man is about to orgasm and he makes a face like someone put a spoonful of vinegar up to his nose.
Well, that's hard.
You just like, really like have to put yourself out there and try, like, how funny can you make yourself look while sounding like a fucking dinosaur?
Stop being a fucking dinosaur and get a job.
That was like, dude, I had gone, we have, what am I trying to say here without sounding like a retard? Give me a moment to articulate this. We've been listening to metal for years and years now, and I didn't get into like cattle decapitation till like literally like a year ago. And then like I realized, I was like, dude, this dude is the fucking goat.
Travis
Ryan,
is
dude.
so
like,
fucking cool.
And to be self-taught, I mean, the experience just can't be understated, dude. It's insane. To be able to do that, not shred your vocals, to do it for years and years. And I mean, he really laid the groundwork, I feel like, for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, especially
I'm still like jerking off. I'm in awe of that concert, dude. It's fucking insane. Kind of gearing back towards the Poetic Edda, something I think you guys did really well with this, and credit goes to Disembodied Tyrant too, and Blake. We'll have to get him on sometime and get his perspective on everything as well. It'd be interesting. Yeah. But the whole project, from like we were talking about the drums earlier, the symphonic parts just blew my mind. They sound so organic and like authentic. That's one of my biggest gripes nowadays, is when people use symphonic parts. It sounds fucking MIDI. It sounds programmed. And I didn't get that at all when I was listening to the Poetic Edda. How did you guys achieve that?
Really expensive libraries. Blake's got a ton of really high-end stuff on his side of things, because his previous work did a lot of mixing and producing other bands and stuff like that. And so even stuff that I'd write on my end, like I know that my choir and like string section, horn stuff, all that is not up to snuff compared to what he's got. And so we'll just bounce the MIDI to him. He'll put it in, and just right out of the box, it sounds so good. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what he's using for a lot of that stuff, but I know that for like all of the solo violin parts, there's this really great Stradivarius violin library through Native Instruments that we both have, that we have abused in our writing.
You're like, it just sounds so good. I gotta have it, dude.
Yep.
You said you kind of had like a background in classical music, like
right? And I listened to a lot of orchestral kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Because when I listened to the EP for the first time, I thought I was having a fucking stroke when Winter came on.
Yeah.
I was like, I've heard this before. And I couldn't fucking figure it out. Actually, I got a funny story. So last night, I'm like writing paragraphs of shit I want to talk to you guys about. And I'm like overanalyzing everything I can. Yeah. And I'm listening to Winter over and over again. And I finally call my wife over. I was like, babe, listen to this part. I was like, I'm not fucking crazy, right? You've heard this before. And she was like, yeah. And then now we're fucking obsessed, dude. We're like scribes going through the archives and shit, trying to find everything. And I was like, finally, we're like, oh, it's Antonio Vivaldi.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then I go to the video for the song. It's literally like the first comment. I was like, oh, cool. Just spent like fucking 2 hours trying to figure this shit out, dude. Like
we credited him in the song and in the video and everything as like one of the writers. Cause I mean, that's so much of it is his parts.
Is there any other parts on the EP that took inspiration from any other classical artists?
Not in the same way. No. Gotcha. Where it's like a 1-to-1 copy. I saw some comment where somebody was trying to say that there are parts in each song from the different 4 seasons from Vivaldi's compositions, and that is wholly untrue, unfortunately. We are not that smart.
Yeah.
Still, like, inspiration comes from those like Bach and Mozart and Beethoven and all the big guys, but nothing as direct as there was with the Vivaldi comp there. So
gotcha. And that probably just comes from your background, because you said you did some classical guitar.
Yeah. So the idea to actually do the piece was Blake's idea. But I think my background in music theory and stuff like that, it's not amazing or anything like that. But we had to basically compose the intro and everything and all the parts from tabs and sheet music and stuff. It was kind of a nightmare. So
dude, I came up in light of that, I came up with a list for you guys for like other classical masterpieces that I think you guys could like take inspiration from, such as Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus, Me So Horny by 2 Live Crew.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Yeah. Pretty much the whole like compendium of jock jams, like Pump It Up, Everybody. This Is How We Do It by Montel Williams. That's a fucking banger.
I got
and then,
power.
Yeah, those are
Pump It Up as a deathcore cover would be so much fun.
Pump up the jam, pump it up while your feet are stumping.
Pump up the jam. I was like, I gotta make them laugh somehow. So this is what I waste my fucking time on, dude.
I was perfectly ready to just like have you send me a list over and go through and listen and dig through all these, and then you started and I was like, I see. Okay.
He's not that cultured. There's no way.
No.
He didn't listen to a bunch of classical
Me So Horny's cultured, man. Fuck off.
One of the greatest.
Going through like the videos, the themes of the music, I picked up on a lot of major things that I found super interesting. It seems like there's a story kind of being told throughout the EP, or at least it seems that way, from like the music videos to the lyrics. These are some of the kind of things I've picked up on, such as, the themes of knights waging war in service to a kingdom, to the aftermath of death left in the wake of war. And then you have choice words that are kind of like Old English or like, alluding to that. And then another major theme seemed like the passing of time and seasons.
Yeah.
So if you had to like elaborate that, like, can you kind of walk us through the story being told, if there is one?
Yeah. So I'd say it's a loose story. I think it's challenging to do a full concept album when you've got 2 people writing their own parts and lyrics. With Blake and Willa. But most of these, all 4 songs are based around either Norse mythology or the events of Ragnarok and what follows. So,
gotcha.
Eye of the Devourer is about Fenrir, the the wolf. Death Empress is sort of loosely based around Hel, one of Loki's other children. And then the Poetic Edda is basically detailing the events of Ragnarok as best that we could, I think.
I mean, that thematically, sonically, that fits. I mean, that makes sense to me. And Ville, you got to have like some kind of like, are you kind of well versed in like, because you're from that fucking area, right? Like, you still rape and pillage villages and shit, right?
Yeah, that's our average Monday.
What input did you put in with that? Like I guess you and Blake probably collaborated on the lyrics, right?
Yeah, we had like this basic like idea of the vibe we want to portray with the lyrics. And when I would start writing the lyrics, I like know the idea we want to portray, and I get this like story in my head which I'm trying to write on paper, which is not always that easy because my English sometimes is not that great. So might take me a while to write some lyrics, but I'm like really happy how it turned out.
Cool, man.
In the end.
No, I'm happy for you guys. I genuinely mean that, dude. It's like actually like made me excited for deathcore, and it's like hoping that like people kind of take influence from you guys and what you did. I think it's the coolest idea. Two totally separate bands, even though you guys have a lot of similarities and overlap in sound, but to come together and create like something unique. I wish more bands would do that shit, because that's always been like my hope from these split EPs that you see every now and again. It's like, why aren't you guys just doing songs together? There used to be this album, there used to be a record label called Roadrunner. They did an album called Roadrunner United, and it had that concept of like, here's a member from Killswitch Engage with a member of Slipknot, and and Trivium, and they would write a song together, and there'd be like 10 songs of like this amalgam of all these different band members just writing shit together, dude. I would love to see more bands do that, and I'm hoping that with this EP now, more maybe bands will see like, this is a way to do something really cool. I don't know how far off you guys are, or if you've even considered like doing live shows or anything like that, or what that would even look like. But it's cool that the idea that, Disembodied Tyrant can be its own thing, but play these songs. And the same for you guys.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would definitely like to do some live shows at some point, if possible.
Yeah.
But
definitely will take a lot more coordination, I think, than most bands who are local to themselves have to deal with, just because we're in two different continents, and we don't have a bass player or a drummer in the band. We've got people that we can contact and hire, but it'd be great to do at some point once there's time and effort and finances to do so.
Resources, for sure, dude.
For the bassist, just make sure you find someone who's good at content creation, because that seems to be the bassist role in every band.
If they can run your fucking Instagram and Facebook, they can be your bassist, dude.
Anytime you reach out on Instagram, it's always a bassist that replies.
Interesting.
Huh. I'm like, that's how you get away with just following the guitar and still being a member of the band. You're like, I just gotta keep it. I gotta do the social media, so I have a point. Some bands they have a point, but I always joke around bassists. I did that with at a show we went to in Halton Theater here. I can't remember. Narwhal was the name of the band. And I went up and he was like the bassist. I was like, so you run the social media, huh? I was drunk too. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, the bassist always runs the social media, man. That's your guys' main job in the band. And he got so mad. He was like, oh, I have a role, like I make music too, guy. I was like, who's fucking with you, man?
Like if you don't play death metal, you don't really have a role as a bassist. I'm sure people have like asked you this already, but I think it's a valid question. What would be like the likelihood of like you and Disembodied Tyrant just like doing this going forward, or are you gonna just split off and do your own thing, maybe come back?
So best of both worlds.
Okay.
Blake is doing his own thing. He's got a ton of awesome stuff going on. We are going to continue our own thing in a very different vein. We'll say slow things down tempo wise, and still incorporate the symphonics, but do something that try and at least attempt to do something that not a lot of people I think we've seen doing. A lot of black tongue inspiration and
nice, like down tempo shit.
Yeah, not too much. I think we still will have some blast beats and stuff like that, but this is all completely hypothetical. I haven't started trying to write music like this before, and I never have. And so if it sucks, it's not happening. But definitely we will be going down a different direction than the EP split. We're going to sort of experiment with some sounds and stuff like that. And then Blake and I are going to form a new project, the two of us.
That kind of continues this idea.
Continues the craziness of the EP. I think I'm doing most of the writing, and then he's going to do all the vocals, and then producing and mixing and mastering.
Cool, man.
And he'll do some writing awesome. Too. But we've got our 5 songs for an EP basically ready for the production stage of things. And so we're hoping to be able to put that out by the end of the year. We'll see. But that's coming. We've got artwork is being made right now and stuff. So that's all been happening behind the scenes simultaneously.
I see.
Yeah. So the sound will continue. I think we've got a lot of stuff that we want to try and experiment with still, that we, 4 songs is limiting. You can only do so much. So,
well, it comes out to just over 20 minutes, and then it was something I was thinking about. I was like, there's nothing I hate more than like you get a whole album and then like 3 or 4 of the tracks is fucking filler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, could I have had more of this? Like, absolutely. But who's to say that it would have been up to your guys' standards or it would have been good? I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
The way it is, honestly.
I think that we're happy with the length of it. And I think it's great to maintain attention spans too,
Yeah.
20 minutes is pretty manageable. That's like a car ride somewhere, or things like that. When you get into closer to an hour, I know I find it hard myself to make it through. You get to track 6 or 7 and you start to sort of feel like you're dragging through. So
yeah, I mean, it has to be like a perfect album. That's like something we've discussed before. Is I think we're all like in the stages of like Alzheimer's TikTok brain. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Having singles and EPs seems to be the way to go, and I think a lot of people benefit. I don't believe at this juncture to even have a full album unless you have a full like story you want to tell. You know what you want to do with it. Like the last one I can think of. Well, actually it's metalcore, but the See You Space Cowboy, if you've heard of them, their new
I've heard
album.
Of them. I haven't listened to them, but
their new album's incredible. But like before that was Sold Soul.
Yeah.
If that album, I hope we make it out of this alive, is fucking incredible from start to finish.
Yeah,
and it's so hard to do that, dude. So hard.
Also releasing singles and EPs more frequently helps keep you at the forefront of people's radar, and you're always being talked about or shared and popping up on people's feeds. It's a great way to grow. I think for bands like Lorna and Shadow of Intent and all those bands who have made it in the scene, they have a little bit more flexibility there to put albums together and take their time. But for somebody like us, where we're trying to grow and reach as many people as we can, it makes a lot more sense to do it that way.
I would give a piece of advice for both of you, because it sounds like you read a lot of comments, and I would say
getting away from it.
Getting away from it. Yeah. Okay, that's what I was going to suggest, because you got what you guys are doing, whatever it is, whatever the magic is behind the scenes. I would say keep going with that. Keep driving on the ideas that you're driving on. You guys have like great stuff. From my experience with you guys, it's the first time I've seen you face to face. We've talked a little bit on social media and that stuff, but you guys shined with me, and I'm a hard person to shine with.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know that there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands in this world, maybe millions, who knows, that have that same mindset. And there's a small subset of people who are just going to always be upset with whatever you do. Someone's going to hear this and hear that you said you're going to slow it down. They're like, oh, now Synestia is sold out, or now Synestia has done this or that.
Yeah, some dumb shit, dude.
I'm like, cool. I want to hear you guys do it differently. Do what you do and do something and switch it up. I love that idea. So take it with a grain of salt. Feedback is good. Not all of it's actionable.
Something I've learned is like people's opinions on whether it's the deathcore subreddit or on YouTube, most of them, their opinions are fucking trash. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Because like, you know, like something we've talked about, like I'm almost certain like the next Lorna Shore release is going to have some form of cleans. I'm willing to bet on it. And you know how pissed off like the deathcore subreddit's going to be when that happens. And in all reality, dude, it's probably going to be great.
Yeah, I would guess that, you know, based off the caliber of the musicians in that band and the people that they have the ability to work with, I can't imagine it being bad. Yeah.
So it's like, I think people have like this preconceived idea of like what deathcore should be, like the boundaries, you know, within that, what a deathcore band should sound like. Going forward, just continue to do what you guys want to hear and explore with sounds that you want to feel creative with. Something that I was talking to Oracle Spectre about, he's a good friend of the podcast, and now that his album is out there, he's like been working insanely hard the past year to put this out, you know, basically by himself. And now that it's said and done and it's out there, and he's like, well, fuck, what now? Whatever you guys got to do to like tap into the muse and whatever helps you feel creative, just keep doing that. Fuck all the other noise, dude. You guys are doing great. And I'm painting people in a like generally like a bad light. I think the response to this EP has been just great. Through the roof.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think you guys deserve every amount of hype. I consider you boys of the podcast. You've basically kind of interacted with us and gave us the time of day since the beginning. So
early on. Like we were only doing it for like 2 weeks the first time we really like contacted each other. So
so whenever you guys want to come on, whenever you guys got new shit that you feel comfortable putting out there, drop us a line. You guys are welcome on whenever. We'll promote the shit out of you any way we can.
I love watching your guys' reactions to all kinds of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think of the new stuff, however it ends up presenting itself. So
I love when bands experiment with new sounds, even if it's like people would consider it like softer than their old shit, dude. It's like as long as you're doing something net new, but like staying true to like what you guys are.
Yeah.
Fucking go nuts, dude.
I think the hope is that it's heavier, you know, in a sense of it'll be less melodic though, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. I haven't even written anything for it yet. I've been accumulating ideas in my brain, you know, but
me too.
I think it'll also play really well to Villa's vocal style.
Absolutely.
I think that's something we figured out with the split is what he really sits into and how allows him to shine. And a lot of people focus on vocals with this music. And so should be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, I've been trying to come up with like a story for something already. So I have some things planned. I'm not entirely sure yet what it's about, but it's getting there.
Are you going to try to experiment or like push yourself vocally for the new stuff you want to attempt to do?
Always. In every release, I'm trying to outdo myself, like since the last release. So every time I like start recording, I try to sound better than the last time I recorded. So that's kind of the mindset I have going into this.
Yeah, you guys are welcome on whenever you want, dude.
Yeah,
we love you guys.
Definitely would like to. We'll do this again when we've got more new stuff to
for
put
sure.
out.
Yeah, looking forward to it, dude. And I can't praise the EP enough, dude. You guys knocked it out of the fucking park.
Appreciate
dude,
it.
Really. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Great.
Again, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, sounds good.
So,
thank you guys too. Great talking.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you guys. Thanks for coming on.